lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and back with me again, Patrick Horvath, phenomenal
Hi.
cartoonist. I'm so excited to have you back on, dude. We did an interview talking about the book. Now we're going through the book. So
Yep. Thank you so much for having me back. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to dig in.
yeah, dude, I'm very excited. Like, we were talking about it before. I had read the digital copy, but nothing prepares you for when you get to hold it in your hands and experience it that way. So I'm very excited to be able to go through this with you. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, number one. It's been blowing up. Everybody that's read it loves it. The quotes that we're getting from it, I mean, some of them I can cuss on my channel, but I don't need to right now. Like some people are like, this is fucking awesome and stuff like that. And we got and there's second print that's coming on the way leading up to issue 2 if you did miss out on the first print. Just from this cover, dude, like let's get into that. Like,
Sure.
how did you design this cover and what was the choice behind it? I mean, it kind of almost takes away a little bit of the mystery that you could have had, but at the same time, it like makes you want to grab this book off of the shelf.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like there's definitely like an element of mystery I wanted to have with it, sort of like peeking beneath the trees, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like basically I had to like thread the needle of setting the tone of being this cute sort of, this animal world and kind of painting that picture while also getting into the bloody bag. But it was one of those things where I wanted it to be something where, it took like a hot second to just kind of read it all in terms, or just like acknowledge it all. And then once you did, you would want to open it up. So that was sort of like the needle that I was trying to thread with all of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I told you too. The minute I saw this initial image, I was like, I need more. I need to hear more about this book. Because it's like you're looking through the trees and there's this bear dragging a bloody bag, and you're just like, what the fuck happened? And with the shovel in the hand too, it's like,
yeah. And it is funny because it's definitely like it's not necessarily like her methodology or whatever, but it definitely was the thing I felt that was needed to pull in the reader.
Yeah, phenomenal choice, man. I love, and we were talking about this too, the design work of this interior page.
Just to take a minute about the design work. This was such a treat to see. I wasn't expecting any of this, and the work that Nathan Wittick did was incredible. It's just a sweet, like, it's funny because you can't necessarily read all of the copy
right
intentionally, but like you can kind of tell what the date is. And so like it's funny because like the date doesn't literally exist in our world, but like in this world it does. But it's just a fun, well, like we've never talked about it except for like some of the businesses and stuff that he ended up doing ads for, that show up in it. But it's just like naturally, like organically, just from his own reading and interpreting of the book, and then putting in stuff, like it just has kind of grown into this like really well fully formed thing, and I love it.
I know it adds so much, and it's like,
I know it's
something
great
that you wouldn't think like you need, and you don't necessarily need to have this here, but it does add to it. And it kind of like the Woodbrook Wanderer, and you get this like bicentennial, like just like
that was all him.
Like that.
And then it's also wonderful because it's like any newspapers that show up as soon as I saw that are going to be the Woodbrook Wanderer. You know what I mean? Like we never talked about it, but like anytime that they will show up in the, as I'm still working on it, like that's what they're going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's great. And then the awesome coffee tea place, all this stuff. It just like the whole team, dude, from Hassan.
Yeah, Otsman Elho.
Just great lettering. Maggie and Jake did a great job on the book editing with you too. Like the whole team. Such a phenomenal job.
Yeah. And I was very, very spoiled.
And I love your art, by the way. I mean, I think I've said that. I just think it's, like the watercolor technique. I know you do it all yourself. I mean, to write and illustrate a book, that's dedication, right? Like so many comic books nowadays, I wouldn't say it's the norm to see a writer artist.
Okay.
You don't see it often.
I mean, I guess not. it's a lot of that came from just, I mean, I've always enjoyed writing, but I've always enjoyed drawing. So it just felt natural to, and I've worked obviously, drawing other people's work as well. But it's just I love just putting together a story with
Yeah.
as few people as possible involved. And
Yes.
so I kind of just made it my business to be able to get my art up to, the point where I felt comfortable, putting it out professionally.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's not to say that there's not a lot of writer artist teams. I just think it's not as prevalent
sure,
maybe
sure, sure,
in,
sure. I
I
mean,
don't want
it's
to say
also like
I don't want to say
just like
mainstream, but you
it
know what I
takes a lot
mean?
of time.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you look at like back in the day, right? Like Marvel DC, you would
Sure.
see writer artists all the time. I can't really remember the last time it was like a frequent thing, unless it's like a
Mm-hmm.
little short mini series, but like having a run of like, John Byrne, Walt
Right,
Simonson,
right, right.
Frank Camille, all that kind of stuff you don't see. So it's very cool to see whenever this does happen. I really enjoy it. And I love the town of Woodbrook. It's so unassuming. You see Samantha and like I was trying to like hear their voices in my head on this second read, like try to give them a voice. And she's just so like happy go lucky and like you have no idea what you're about to entail with her.
Yeah, all this stuff setting up Woodbrook was really important to, and and I worked with Maggie and Jake on this too, just
Mm.
like really trying to nail that like cozy, wholesome vibe.
Cozy horror.
Yeah, cozy horror.
It's such a good way to describe it, dude.
And these interactions, and it's very much like setting the tone with the townspeople,
Yeah.
setting up Martin here, the goat,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of it's sort of like it is such a cozy and wholesome town that even like obviously Martin has like sort of in the mid stages of dementia,
Yeah.
but he's well cared for, even though it's a it's that's sort of a scary thing or whatever. But in the town of Woodbrook, that's not a big deal. Like the town's gonna watch out for him, etc.
Working in a, I mean, it's working in a hardware store just makes sense too.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know why, but woodworking seems incredibly wholesome. And
Yeah.
it's working with wood, which is from trees.
Yep.
But it was definitely like that. I wanted to have that hardware store, and the paint obviously was a big thing as well. So it very much, I mean, on one hand, it was really wholesome. And then the flip side of that was just that it was just like all the tools at her disposal to do all the stuff that she does, dismembering people, etc. Like it just seemed like from a utilitarian standpoint, like the perfect setup for Samantha. So
It is. Yeah.
that's why the thing. And it is sort of her backstory is that she had inherited this story from her folks, and that's true in terms of her backstory. But it's definitely something that it was. I feel like something that was she saw where she could do what she wanted to do in Woodbrook. And actually, if you go back to that in the top. And it was really important for me to have her first sort of interaction with tools to be the thing that's going to get echoed when she does the
Yes.
dismembering. And so
Yes.
like I wanted to have like the bearing in the ground and the pounding and the talk and the using the saw and everything
Yeah.
was
I
very much like I wanted that to resonate and then resonate again.
I also like how when she's describing Woodbrook, she just seems so sweet. She's talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
like the small, the little miracles, the magic in their faces, and how some people think it's boring, but it suits her just fine. Like all this kind of stuff. And you're like, oh man, she's such a sweet character. And that's not what she's gonna be.
Yep.
And this is the page two. What brilliant, by the way. She's smiling, right? She's driving, and then this, as she's leaving Woodbrook, boom, the eyes drop. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
a total mask.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, her whole presence in Woodbrook, almost the entire time is seen as she thinks she's being seen.
Hmm.
Like she won't usually drop her mask the entire time she's there. The only time she's really her true self is when she passes that, city limits.
Yeah.
It
It's
very, very much wanted that to be a highlighted thing for sure.
both times that I've read this, I laughed when I saw that, because it's just so fun. I don't know. It's something so simple, but so effective at the same time. And it just made me like, because she's like, okay, fuck these people, you know.
I mean, it really is like she doesn't care about anybody there.
Yeah.
She's completely, it's all very much her just setting up her life and playing whatever parts that she needs to. And she's super adept at putting on whatever emotional feedback people need.
Yeah.
Because she's pretty smart and she's kind of a couple steps ahead of everybody. But the idea that like it's just it's kind of like a smile that you're wearing the whole time. And then she finally just relaxes. And this is her just in her relaxed state. Finally. Yeah. Like where she's just like, sort of become the predator.
And then we see like, through her narration of what, her rules are, right? Like she's not going to do it in Woodbrook. She goes to the city because in Woodbrook something happens. Right. It's going to be a whole big thing, but
yeah,
nobody's going to miss somebody from the city. And that makes sense though. I mean, that is
that was that's the sad. I mean, the statistics are, I don't think I actually put it in there, but the statistic from New York is like on average, it's like 12 people go missing a day or something. It's something like that, maybe a week. It's totally terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's like it's big city living. Like it's just it's a fact and it's terrifying. But it serves her very well. So like, and I definitely wanted to make it, I basically, it's like a New York of the 80s, basically, is kind of what I based a lot of that on. And so, and
that's what I figured with this bright colored jacket. That's kind of
yeah, exactly. And he's got his Walkman. He's got like his Sony Walkman with the orange headphones. And it just kind of felt like it needed to be kind of a dirty, vibe, even though it is still sort of all pastel and kind of, whimsical looking. But there is a griminess to it that just comes from an urban setup.
Yeah.
But it very much, and even still, like it felt very like walking down, a side street in Brooklyn or something, kind of felt like you could still do that and have yourself kind of isolated in a weird sort of way. That was the other thing. The idea very much that like you can just walk down the wrong street in a big city and then find yourself like, even though you maybe have done it like hundreds of times, like this one time is a problem.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying thought because especially after you just told me that 12 people go missing that frequently in New York, it makes me like, no.
It's something like that. Yeah.
It's not totally... It doesn't shock me though. It doesn't shock me at all because that city, I was there for the first time and it's like there's so many people.
Oh yeah, I love New York. Yeah. I very much came close to living there, but it's a yeah, and but the same thing. I mean, I lived in Chicago for a time, in Los Angeles too. Like, I mean, it's there's just stuff that happens in big cities that you just got to watch yourself.
And I love that, like she keeps it far, far away. Her other world, keep it random. Like there's no rhyme or reason. That's true mark of a serial killer. That they don't care.
And to take a sidestep from the Dexter comparisons, that even though the Dexter comparison has served us really well for people just wrapping their heads around what this book is, it's the departure is just that like because they're so random, there's nothing cool about the killing that she's doing.
Right. Like Dexter at least he's going after criminals at least.
Yeah, he's right. Like where Dexter, is going after people that are more like, reprehensible or whatever. Like this is very much, these are just normal everyday people living their lives and they just disappear after she gets a hold of them. And I very much wanted this. I mean, this interaction is definitely like cribbed from the sort of Ted Bundy, person in distress.
Yeah.
Sort of community, interaction. And I very much picked this one because this is something I would do, like as the duck. Like I'm the duck in this scenario. Like I'd be like, oh yeah, we can help you out. Like let's take a look at the thing. And it was just very much like, yeah, I would totally be the sucker for this.
Yeah, I just love when he goes into the trunk too, and all the tools are so organized.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to be like, this is we're all gonna see this in about another couple pages.
This panel is like one of my favorites. She's fucking just like the chemical when you put
the chloroform.
Chloroform. Yeah, when she chloroforms the duck. I just love that. And then it's just black.
I love the lettering that Haas put in
Dude, so
The
good.
is so awesome. His work is just incredible, by the way. And I know
Yes.
that like he is on so many books because he's so good.
Hmm.
I mean, it's for good reason. Like it's stuff like this where it's just like he makes additions and just incredibly thoughtful about the stuff that he's putting in, specifically in how it's going to work with the the style of everything that's already on the book.
Hmm.
And it's just so good. Like it's got like every issue that I get the lettering back, I'm just like, oh, this is an excellent, thank you for doing this, this is an excellent move. Like he'll just make these sweet little like tweaks or additions or whatever that are just incredible, and it really like knocks it out of the park. Like he does such an incredible job.
And was it your decision? Because the narration looks like it's from a notebook or like a journal or
That was
something.
he auditioned that
Okay.
in the first like he, my first interaction with the lettering was that we had like several styles to kind of look at,
Hmm.
and this was one of them, and I was like, oh yes, I love the torn notebook. And I mean, like, notebook captions definitely, been in things, but it's like this is, it definitely has its unique flair, and I just thought it was perfect.
And is it gonna like have a purpose that it was like that?
I don't
Or okay, all right, all right, all right. Yeah, you don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell
know.
me. All right. Here's the contrast of what happened earlier when she was
Yep,
hammering in
yep,
that wood peg.
exactly. Yeah, I just love I very much love that little talk.
Yeah, dude, it's
And it's funny because it's like the other part to having that hardware store scene is that I'm a huge fan of watching somebody do work that they're good at. Like that's practiced because it's just been done a million times, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And like and I like the idea of her, I mean, like, she's done this dozens of times, and it's just like and she still like she enjoys it, like she enjoys the process of it.
Yeah.
And I very much wanted that to be part of the satisfaction, that she sort of be like to see that satisfaction in it, and also just to be like really gruesome,
To
and
read
then to
what
have
she
like a tiny glimpse into the sort of ecstasy that she gets
yeah, that's what
out
I
of
was
it.
gonna say. Yeah. They never wake up again, a dream that goes on forever. The nail passes it, and she's like talking about what's happening. I'm just
Yeah.
like, this is sick. Like
Yeah.
this
She's very, but
Samantha's
again,
sick.
it's all very practical. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't want to struggle with them.
Nope.
She doesn't want to doesn't want to be messy. She really doesn't like mess.
Just wants to be in control.
She absolutely wants to take like a chaotic sort of person in this world, which is chaotic just by the sense of them being a human being living their life. And it's
Hmm.
like unpredictable to her. And it's just like the world at large is very chaotic for her. And so this is just taking one person, one element of that, and then just like bleeding them dry, chopping them up, compartmentalizing them, you know,
Hmm.
and then just like making them disappear in this very like weirdly, hermetically sealed way or whatever.
What's she thinking right here in this bottom panel? Like, what was your intention there?
That is like that very bottom right panel is her. That's the face she makes when she has this moment that we see on the page to the right.
Okay.
So that's
This that
sort
when
of
she's seeing this,
that
like
when
that's
that's going on in her head, that's the
yeah.
expression in her eyes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very much, yeah. I don't know why it just felt like in these pages, it felt really, it almost felt like you were looking obviously like a microscopic view of the platelets in the blood,
That's so good.
right? It's like essentially like if you pulled the plug out of a human being and all the blood was draining, like that's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how it would work. And it's funny because I basically in the very bottom, that's essentially like what do you call them? I don't know what they're specifically called, but it's like a container for draining your oil.
Yeah, I don't know what you're
Um,
yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I couldn't remember what the name of it, but is she saving the blood?
yeah, well, I mean, I don't actually show what she does with it, but
Yeah.
it's essentially that she buries it as well. But
Okay,
it's
okay. I wasn't
but
sure because you see her like on the well, I'll flip the page, but you do
yeah,
see
yeah,
her like starting to
yeah.
putting it in paint cans. Like you see, I love this. I mean, I
I have
shouldn't love
no
that. It's
idea if
sick,
this would
but
work or not, but it seemed like if you buried things in paint cans, like maybe dog sniffers wouldn't really be able to find it if that was a thing.
I feel like that makes sense.
It made sense to me. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any logic to that, but like that was the idea.
It's masking the smell.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like it almost wouldn't rot either
Yeah,
in the
you know, no,
paint.
no. I kind of think it would preserve it in the latex. And so that was that was kind of the idea. Was I wanted something that wouldn't decompose in it, and it would also just sort of like weirdly seal it if you encased it in paint.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like, seal it back up. But I also felt I wanted it to be like really unnatural, just very like to take something like like a human body and then to just like put it in this very weirdly manufactured thing,
Mm-hmm.
like paint in a paint can. And the also so this top down pan like splash page, I wanted it to be I can't remember if I mentioned this before or not, but I was really traumatized by the video for Tom Petty's "Don't Come Around Here No More."
We talked about it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So that's what this is. Like it's very much like the cake. Just cutting them up like cake and putting them away.
Yeah, I think it's I don't think I noticed it as much when I read it on the screen, but like the detail in the brain you have is that part of the head is like laying flat.
Yeah.
I like that you chose to have that part showing instead of just having it like the rest of the body's all together. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely wanted to. It's funny because, like, I mean, who knows what I'm essentially all the anatomy is just sort of, correlates to human anatomy for the most part,
right.
because I just felt like that would resonate more with everybody.
It reads well.
Yeah, yeah. But I definitely wanted to have just a little hint of the detail to make it feel kind of grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for sure like I kind of felt like a really fun way to do it would be that little piece of the head that kind of just fell over, just kind of like toppled over.
Yeah. I like the talk, talk, talk again. Now as
Yep.
she's like hammering down the paint can,
Yep.
which that's the logo of the paint that we saw in the shop.
Yeah, a little shout out to House Paint. That was
Yeah.
the brand. I felt like we needed to have just a solid, easy to recognize logo for
Mm-hmm.
the paint. And it was, I don't know why, but I decided to make it like a Bauhaus inspired logo. So it's House Paint.
I like how she's all triumphant, nice and clean, as she's
Yeah.
buried all the paint cans, and then when you flip, she hears something rustling behind, and it's a regular bear.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And this is something that's gonna come up in a bigger way like later on,
Mm-hmm.
couple issues down the road. But I very much wanted to have this interaction between her sort of like wildlife corollary animal, like stumbling upon her doing this like really unnatural thing. And also, I love the idea of just having nature be the thing that absolutely knows what her actual true nature is. And it felt like, I don't know, it just felt like a, a true moment in her life that's largely just a facade.
Yeah, I think I just love the way the bear looks, and then just kind of like moseys on, and
Yeah,
Samantha
it
looks
just keeps
back.
going. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and
It
then
just,
and then here I've buried 43 people out here, so she's done this 43 times.
yeah, yeah. I feel like she would be pretty meticulous about how many.
And then I like this too, the fox walking up, looking in the rear view, and
Hmm.
just licking the blood off the leaf. So
Yeah,
she did leave a piece of evidence behind.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's sort of consumed by nature too.
Right, which is cool. Yeah. Just
and
in a
then and
bubble
then she
bath.
and then she kicks it back.
Yeah,
She
dude.
takes it easy. She's feeling real good. You got a little
Mm.
bath bomb going.
Yeah.
Got some hot tea, murder
Some cookies right
mystery.
there. Yeah.
A
I love
little
the bright
incense.
colors you use too.
Oh, thank you so much.
I really love the choice to use such bright colors in an otherwise really dark story. So not only does
Yeah.
this art style kind of a nice, like warm, cozy feeling, but like the colors really, because you could have used this art style with like a darker
Oh
color
yeah.
palette and it would have read completely different.
And it just felt very much like it needed to live in that children's book setup. I
Hmm.
think that's pretty much why I leaned into it so hard. So it just felt like, and it, I mean, it's gonna, I mean, it changes throughout, but it's the it by and large, like it just kind of needed to have finding the balance between how dark the book gets and then also this like sort of whimsical animal town was kind of tough. And it felt like you needed to really lean into the children's book part of it to really balance out how heavy duty it gets
Yeah.
in terms of the content, because like it gets dark. Like it's kind of like it gets real sad and
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like it very much like I realized like you couldn't go too far into that
Hmm.
unless it was somehow tied to like the interior part of her.
I like that this character Lola, this is the only one she considers a friend. The
Right.
only one. Everybody else she doesn't give a shit about. So this is the only time where it's not a complete facade the way she's
Well, at
acting.
the same time, it kind of is. But like, it's also like, I think it's part of it is that she's like, everyone understands them to be friends. And
Uh-huh.
then she also understands that she needs to have somebody that like people see her to be friends with. And so, like, this is all part of it's still like, it's just another like pot on the stove for her, I feel
Okay.
like it's very like she keeps it, she tends to it and puts in the effort for this friendship, and because she understands it to be part, it's just all just another part of her.
Part of the act.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it kind of needs to, it needs to exist. And so she does do things that Lola feels like are her caring for her,
Uh-huh.
and that it's Samantha being thoughtful, etc. But like it's just to me it's still just all utilitarian for Sam,
All right.
which is pretty dark. Like,
Yeah,
like
that is pretty dark. Yeah. Then we get the bicentennial.
yeah,
This is where shit goes another way that I wasn't expecting.
yeah. I'm super excited to see everybody that was still caught off guard with this.
Yeah, I think I told you I was caught off guard when I initially read it too. And like, you get the float that we were talking about from,
Right, right, right.
Birdie was talking about it at the beginning of the issue, and now
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
getting
yeah.
the float coming down, but you can kind of see something in there.
Yeah, you can see a tiny little hint. And I love how everybody's rooting for Birdie in this moment.
Yeah.
Like it's very, and it is like
Yeah.
this is sort of like Woodbrook being the most Woodbrook, right?
Just so wholesome,
Yeah,
everybody
exactly.
just
Just a
so happy
total,
for him.
yeah, a wholesome celebration of the town and of Birdie in this moment. And everybody's very into it. And then yeah, you have the sales starting to pop off. And then yeah, I very much wanted to have Sam to be the first person to look and see Martin up there.
Hmm.
And then forever, and then to just have her sort of be still while everybody else just kind of went to chaos. And then
The last line, a major fucking problem.
yeah,
You know, because
yeah,
now death has come to Woodbrook, and like everything she's been trying to prevent.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, essentially, yeah. What would be the one thing that would upset her existence that she's been enjoying for like decades? And it would be if you had another murderer in town that was fucking it up by, showing the cards.
yep,
This is exactly why you don't do this, because now, like, she can already see, like, way down the road why this is going to be a problem.
yeah,
This was a set, yeah. It was to me, I wanted to really have something that was a story that, if you're gonna have a psychopath as your main character, like the only one of the universal things you can do to get, the reader on her side is just to have like whatever life she had set up, like upended dramatically.
yeah,
And obviously this is like I wanted it to be basically like to do that, but then also kind of set it up in a way that very much wanted everybody to be like, I need issue two. Like, what's going to happen? And so it definitely like that was the goal with this last page for sure.
yeah. I think it's a great way to end the first one and definitely bring people back. Besides the fact that the book, like already like a few pages in, you're into it, but like this cliffhanger, I didn't expect. Like I didn't really know how it would end, but I didn't think this was gonna. happened, and like you don't know. And I am curious, like, have we met the
Have
person?
you already seen the killer?
Yeah.
I don't.
All right, all right, all right, all right.
I love it. But that was the thing, was like, it was, I mean, it's funny too, because this last page was the pitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it was like, the story is that, like, okay, everybody understands it to be about a psychopath serial killer in a small town that's been thriving. And then the pitch is like, what if there was another killer in town that just was reckless and totally threatened that existence? And then what would that be? And then it turned into, like, it would be like a spy versus spy, having to figure out who, the killer has to find out who the other killer is, because only a killer can catch a killer, type of thing, because she can think like this person does. And so and that was like the main drive for sure.
Yeah, it's just such a great first issue. And
Thank you.
I'm so excited for the rest of the series. I hope everybody that's listening and watching, you get out there, get to your local comic shop, get it. Second print is coming out the same day as, I believe, right? The same day
Yeah, I
as
believe it's
issue
set up
2.
now, so it's the same day as issue 2's coming out. So anybody that missed out on this first one can get their hands on issue 1, second printing, and then issue 2 same day.
Yeah. And also, if you notice my copy signed, you can also get the signature series at Collector's Paradise. I'll drop the link down below where you can pre-order the entire set, all signed by Patrick. Dude, thank you so much for doing this with me. It was a blast going through this
Thank
with you.
you.
So we'll definitely do this again. I would be down to do every issue if you're up for it. Like,
Hey man, I'm into it.
All right, cool. We'll do this for issue 2. So everybody listening, watching, make sure you keep a lookout for that. And yeah, dude, we'll talk soon.
All right, take care.